So we have a new person, Bonnie.
Well, I have to admit I was a little confused by the different emails that came out, and I wasn't sure. I'm one of the faculty that's attending.
You were supposed to be in the other email, or the other, but that's okay. You missed the other one, but that's okay. You're in this one. I guess Voss invited all faculty because we're going to be depending on a lot of faculty to participate in some of the activities that we're going to be doing with the students. So
I now understand. So in the email where I sent the reminder for the webinar, I obviously copied the professors, but in the message I said professors are also invited to attend. And I think that's why, because several students told me, but I'm not a professor. And I was like, where did we say that you're a professor? But okay, I mentioned the word professor. Maybe that's what caused the confusion. Makes sense.
So a lot of this is going to be housekeeping stuff. So Bonnie and Gordon, let me just first welcome you to our ambassadors meeting. And let me just give you some background on it. Okay, so right now we have 20 selected ambassadors. And the ambassadors were selected very, very tediously and strategically. So 10 of our ambassadors actually come from Calgary. And the reason why we chose 10 Calgarian ambassadors is because they know the location, they know the university, and they have the connections to all of the local vendors. Then we have also 10 international ambassadors. So Ezekiel, for example, is from Singapore. Karina is from Brazil. Jacqueline is Calgarian, yeah? Okay, but Carlo, you are somewhere from Latin America, yeah?
Can you hear me?
Yes, where are you from?
I'm from Italy.
Oh, Italian, okay. Catherine is Calgarian, Duncan is Calgarian. Selma, where are you from? This is the first time I've seen you.
I'm from Calgary as well.
Oh, Calgary as well, okay. And then Maddalena Dulio is our lead ambassador. She's from Italy, and Yevgeny Frankiv is our executive administrator to Voss and to me, and he is from the Ukraine. Professor Tavoletti is our challenge company, let's say author. Yeah, you guys, so Tim Muth and Ernesto Tavoletti are writing our 3 challenges. And Professor Gordon, I don't know how to say your last name, Gordon, is from the Singapore School of Management. So welcome everybody. Okay, so ambassadors, Calgarian ambassadors and international ambassadors are joined in one team, okay? So Calgarian ambassadors are right now predominantly responsible for the operational part of pre-conference preparations. And then the international ambassadors are in charge of the virtual part of pre-conference preparations. So for example, on ground means that we need to put together a welcome reception, a gala. We need to put together the swag bags. We need to put together the program. And I'm missing one thing that I can't think of right now. And each one of the on-ground ambassadors, the Calgarian ambassadors, are taking lead on those. And then in the international ambassador side, they're preparing like pre-conference webinars, getting to know you with all our 150 selected student attendees. Actually, right now we're at 154. So, and I don't know if I explained this to the ambassadors in the previous emails or previous webinars, but now that you know, that's actually the strategy that's going on in my head. So right now, what I want to talk to you guys about, ambassadors predominantly, so faculty, we're just kind of like observing, right? Is I want to see where we are with the projects that we're working on. So again, we have the welcome reception, the gala, the swag bag, the program, and what am I missing? I'm missing a 5th one. Oh, is it the, Maddalena, help me.
I'm thinking as well, actually.
It's the
the training. So
the uniform, yeah.
Uniforms, And then, well, boss, that's the last thing, right? We're going to talk about the training.
Yeah, training and sort of coaching side of it. Yeah, human
Yes,
side.
which is, I'm going to give you that at the very end because
Yep.
that's going to require more time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
So, welcome reception. Who is Duncan? Who is our lead on that?
That would be Chelsea.
Okay.
I can speak to it to an extent, but I don't think that she's in the call.
No,
at the
she's not
moment.
here right now. So, boss, are you recording? Okay, so we're recording. So for those of you guys who miss, hello. Okay, go ahead, Duncan.
All right. So my understanding of where the welcome reception is right now, we do have some quotes for it, and I have some of that information from Leighton, but I just received those formal quotes, I think, from him this morning. So I haven't a chance to review those specifically, but based on the preliminary quotes that I received from the conference people at the University of Calgary, which is where we're planning to host the welcome reception, it looks as though we'll be able to do that particular event under budget. But I do have wood to knock on to make sure that that is perhaps going to stay the case.
So tell me what those items are.
So the specific items that we'd be looking at would be sort of an outdoor venue rental, a green space at the University of Calgary to have a welcome barbecue of sorts with both vegetarian as well as sort of more traditional barbecue options. We're also planning on having, there'll be like outdoor seating. We're also planning to have some outdoor entertainment such as sort of introducing people to the idea of line dancing because Calgary does have that Western side and we want to include some of those cultural elements. But we're also wanting to have some other musical genres out there just so that during the event, like when people are meeting each other, enjoying food, we have a diversity of music. This particular venue for the welcome reception is actually right next to the residence where the students will be staying.
Okay.
And on the other side is actually the registration area for the conference. So
Okay,
it's
perfect.
very centrally located.
Okay, perfect. So I spoke to Leighton. For those of you guys who don't know, Leighton is in Japan right now. So he just arrived, I think, yesterday. And I told him that, and I think right now it's midnight for him. And he's severely jet lagged. So that's probably why he's not here. So we're scratching the tent, Duncan. Did he tell you that?
I did not know that yet, but that is good to know.
Okay, yeah, we're scratching the tent. So everybody has to pray for sunshine that day. That's mandatory.
All right.
We need to send that out on Facebook, Madalena. Okay, so it's going to be barbecue with vegetarian option. Are you going to have live entertainment or is it going to be a DJ?
We were looking to potentially do both. One of the ideas that came up in a meeting that Leighton, myself, and Chelsea had was to actually get the dance faculty a bit involved for the live line dancing, so that way they can potentially teach some of the students how to do it as well as demonstrate it live. But then we would also, the thought is that we would have a DJ in terms of having the variety of music, and also just because having a live band there in order to have the diversity of music that we would probably want at the barbecue. I'm not certain that a live band would be the best option to provide that.
Okay, excellent. Are we going to have a dance floor?
Dance floor, potentially. I'd have to look into the logistics and the budget to confirm that that would be doable. I think that we could. We just have to see how the numbers fall because the dance floor is an extra expense to rent, and want to make sure that it's within the budget before I promise anything.
Well, it is line dancing, right? So we could always go and get plywood and throw it down.
We could.
That's the thing, right? That's a thing that people actually do. I know in around here where there are a lot of cowboys, they go do plywood and throw it down in the middle of a field and make that a dance floor. So that's ideal. What kind of decoration budget are you guys needing?
I don't have the budget information for the welcome reception right in front of me. I believe, if I recall correctly, it was around $30 a person. Was that?
What? Yeah, but does that include decoration? So I guess what I'm going to need from you, Duncan, is a breakdown. So, if you could just create like line items so that we can start moving those numbers around. I know that Leighton told me that the food was surprisingly less than what we would normally pay, which means that we have a lot of money to make this event really fun and entertaining. We're not going to need any lighting because it's going to be still daytime until like 11 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but we will need, for example, so if we have the dance floor, we can use that, but we're gonna need like a PA system. We're gonna need, we're gonna have people speaking. So we're gonna need some kind of a speaking platform.
Yeah, no, that one for sure, because we'd also need it for like the DJ and the music as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just wanted, because the only budget information that I currently have in terms of like how much money I have to work with, excluding the quote and whatnot, because we have some of the other information within the quote. I'm just looking at, in terms of the money that we have at our disposal, my understanding was it was $30 a person all in, and that's all the information I have at the moment.
Yeah. So, keep it, that's about $6,000, right? So, hover around that. But again, I'm in a position where I actually have to monitor how the money moves. So, I want to make it a great event. If we could do it for a lot less and still have the same effect, that's great. But at the same time, if it's, if we need a little bit more to make it really great, we can figure that out too. And also, this is pending how much donations we get. So that's another thing that we need to be, kind of pulse checking, because if we get donations, then we have more funding to do more fun things for you guys. Okay?
Yes. And I just saw a message from, I think it was Ezekiel, asking what the backup plan is if it rains. The worst case scenario, which is something that I do have to confirm with Leighton as well as with the university facilities, is that we do have the dining center immediately adjacent to the space that we're renting, which is an entirely indoor space that has the capacity to hold all of the attendees.
Yeah.
So we just have to confirm that in the worst case scenario, we could move in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that has been confirmed to date. Chelsea might know, but that's something that is definitely, I think, worthwhile.
And we'll know weeks ahead of time. Well, okay, days ahead of time, what the likelihood that a rain shower will come. From what Leighton and I talked about, he says the rain probability in that time of year at that time of hours probably like 10%. Okay. Of course, you can't you can't dare in Mother Nature, right? So we have to have an alternative plan. But let's just say that we're shooting for the 90%. Okay. But we'll have a plan B, but we'll know more as the time comes closer. So, and Duncan, your gala, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Duncan is the lead for the gala. So go ahead and tell us what you're doing with the gala so far.
For sure. So currently we're in the stage of venue research and selection, and hand in hand with that is also the catering. So once the venue is selected, the catering is also pretty much automatically selected, as well as with all the AV and related costs in that sense. So the logistics are moving ahead at a pretty good pace. We have a number of potential venues lined up, and myself and Samuel are actually going and seeing one for sure next Wednesday, but potentially also one on Monday as well. In terms of the costing, we were hoping to have it downtown simply because that gives people an opportunity to see a little bit more of the city. And as sort of a final wrap-up event, we wanted to make it very a special event in an interesting place. And unfortunately, at the University of Calgary, there aren't a whole lot of those.
What's the transportation requirement for us to get the students to downtown?
A single LRT ride, so a single train ride.
Okay. And that's easy?
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Everybody's going to be in gowns.
Yeah.
In the past, our galas have been formal. So everybody's going to be in gowns and, jackets, and it's going to be evening in Calgary, even though it's going to be July, it's still going to be cool, right? So people will have wraps and jackets, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we can do that in public transportation?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess we'll just have to tell the girls to wear walking shoes and then switch out to heels when they get there. See, Jacqueline knows what I'm talking about. None of the boys think about this stuff. Okay, tell me about, okay, so which venue are you looking at, Duncan?
So currently the venue we currently have a tour set up for is a venue called the Telus Convention Center, which is centrally located downtown, a very nice large space that overlooks one of the historic areas in Calgary. Unfortunately, their pricing came back too high for the budget, and so I'm in the process of negotiating with them to see what can be done specifically regarding the food, because they originally quoted the food at $55 a person. I said, we cannot do that. And so right now they're working on sorting out a new custom menu that might work a little bit better. So
and you said that would include podium, all of the the microphones, the speakers, the tables, the setups, all of that stuff. The food includes all of that?
No, not at the Telus Convention Center, which is the reason why the negotiation has to happen. Otherwise, it won't work as a venue.
Okay.
In terms of a more promising venue downtown is actually the Petroleum Club, where including venue rental, food, AV, the entire deal, it can be done for under $50 per person.
Okay.
It looks like. I've just started communications with that particular venue provider. They just got back to me, I believe it was yesterday actually. And they said that come on down, take a look at the venue, make sure that it actually works. But according to their floor plans, as well as the resources that I have found on their website regarding event planning, it looks as though the venue would work well. It's a nice spot, well centrally located, and within the budgetary constraints, assuming that they can put together the menu that I'm thinking would work best.
So how much is it per person again?
In terms of what the Petroleum Club would potentially offer, looking at sort of like $47 to $50 a person.
Is that American or Canadian?
Canadian.
Okay.
All the dollars that I quote are in Canadian.
Are Canadians. Okay, so that's about $40 per person. Oh, Ernesto, we paid $8,000 for the gala in Macerata. I remember. So
It's actually more like 40.
It
Yeah,
was
so
not, no, it was less than that. It was less than that. It was around 30 euro. Oh, yes. So in
yeah,
dollars,
so it's
it was
around,
less.
no, it's about the same.
Yes,
Okay,
the same.
so-
I was thinking in euro. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Duncan, that's hovering just slightly above our target number. So Petroleum Club sounds really good. What happened to the library?
Oh, the library doesn't have enough space. It's too small
okay.
of a venue.
So that's-
Unfortunately, for the size of X Culture, 220 people, there are very few places that can really accommodate that well. It's sort of an awkward middle area because a lot of the places in the city of Calgary, they max out at sort of 150 to that 200 range. And then the next rung up is sort of a starting to accommodate 300 people plus. And then the prices reflect the cost of renting a venue that size. So the options aren't super great within the city in terms of accommodating a gala of this size downtown. But we found a couple of venues that look like they'll work, and we'll keep everyone updated as how the negotiations go, what the pricing is, and we'll stay within.
So have you nixed completely the club on campus?
Not entirely. It's a backup plan.
Okay.
Just also as an idea, in Florida and Miami, we had the gala literally in the gym. And that actually worked pretty well. I wonder if we can do, if nothing else works, an ice rink, like one of those inflatable ice rinks not too far from campus, or maybe, some other venue like that. I mean, I guess it would be appropriate for Canada. So I don't know. I mean, is that an option at all, or that's?
It would probably be easier to secure the on-campus conference center space. And by the on-campus conference center space for you Calgary people who are listening, I'm referring to the Red and White Club at McMahon Stadium. That space is like relatively rentable, relatively inexpensive by event venue renting standards, and the space is already set up for an event of this nature. The issue with some of the ice rinks is that they aren't necessarily set up for this.
Right.
So in terms of getting them essentially gala ready, there would be some extra expenses associated with that.
True. Yeah.
Right.
So I do like the idea of having the Canadian gala in a traditional Canadian kind of space.
Yeah. Okay. So your number one is the Petroleum Club. You're waiting to hear back from the Convention Center, and then your plan B is the Red and White Club.
Yes, there are also a couple other venues that we've looked at and received quotes from, but they're generally too high. But I'm also working with them to see what they might be able to do, because if they can come within the budgetary constraints, then they may become viable options, and some of them are quite something when it comes to a venue.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Jacqueline, talk to us about your swag bag.
All right, is the audio working?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So in terms of the swag bag group, so we now have the team members with Farkunda, Carlo, and Salma. So I think that the team itself is pretty set. Of course, I might be recruiting an army later, trying to get the swag bag together, but this seems to be the core team. Looking at bag item ideas, so just trying to throw out some ideas of what could be in the bag. We had notepads, maybe, I wasn't sure if like smartphone pocket was the right term for it, but you know, the thing that you could stick on your phone and the back and put like wallets and things. So just trying to come up with maybe a little bit of a different concept, as well as maybe some earbuds, putting in maybe some little personalized notes, stickers, just trying to draw on, I was actually at the Nordic Forum here in Copenhagen, and I just got goodie bags galore. So I was doing a little bit of research just to try and see what people's reactions were for that. So I think really trying to stuff it full with a lot of fun things would be really beneficial. I know I sent out the briefing note earlier today in my time, and then I was thinking like maybe like not like a plastic water bottle, but like a metal water bottle with like a logo on it. I'm not quite sure how much budget I have to work with, as well as what would come from certain donations. So far, I have reached out to Haskane. Have not heard anything back yet. I'm also at CBS Copenhagen Business School. I've reached out here at my home school, was politely declined, but I would also urge all the ambassadors to talk to their home schools and let me know if anybody's interested. This week, I plan to reach out to University of Calgary, Mount Royal. I was also wondering who my contacts would be for the challenge companies. I think that's Tim and Ernesto are involved with that. So would it be better for me to give a list of item ideas to give to Ernesto and Tim, or would it be good for me to get the contact from Ernesto and Tim and talk with them directly?
Well, Professor Tavoletti Ernesto is right here. So Ernesto,
Yes.
tell her how you would like to manage that.
Well, you can send us an email and share your ideas. What sort of ideas are you thinking about?
Yeah, so in terms of ideas, looking at items, I mean, we have some pretty standard items right now in terms of either like notepads, USB sticks, something like that. Also trying to come up, still in the process of maybe thinking
Yes.
of some more creative things, but having the bare basics down, I think would be beneficial.
Yes, we can stay in touch by email. We are actually planning to ask, for example, the Calgary airport next Monday. We are supposed to meet them on the phone on Monday, and we are thinking about asking them some of those items. If you have some ideas that you want to share with us, with me and Tim, you can do it now or maybe by email in the next few days.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jacqueline,
Can I
go
ask a
ahead
question?
and forward them your request.
Yeah.
Your form that you sent me this morning, go ahead and send it to them.
Perfect.
One question I have, so we always have a group of people who ask if they can have an opportunity to promote their university. And so I wonder if we can combine the university promotion with the goodie bags. Would it be a good idea to reach out to the students who are attending the event, ask them to talk to their schools and see if they would like to use the opportunity to promote themselves by giving us some sort of, like for example, from UNCG, we will be bringing, like these stress balls, for example, and I think we will have like something like, like cup holders, and there will be a few things. And so these are little things, but the schools have an opportunity to kind of get their logo there. For students, it's something they can use. So there will be like a memory stick, for example, with the logo of the school. So, little things like that. I know that all universities have something like this, and they have literally like a room with, boxes of this swag stuff. And this is an opportunity for them to distribute it to the students who may apply to graduate programs, to those schools who may, I don't know. So I don't know, would it be a good idea to ask students to talk to schools and see if any schools would like to contribute to that swag bag?
I think that it is a good idea. What I don't think we should do is accept everything, because then what
Right,
we'll
right.
have
Well, it should be an opportunity, not a request. So we're
Right.
not asking them, we're giving them an opportunity to give us something nice. And if it's really
Right.
something nice, we may include it into the.
So we talked about this last 2 weeks ago in our last webinar, right? That I think what the strategy should be, Jacqueline, is to create a wish list and then put it out there. We are looking for a university that can give us, 200, water bottles is probably too much to ship. That should probably be sourced from a local university. But for example, 200 pads, and then that can be brought by one of their faculty, so then, and that's kind of tricky, right? Because we want all of this stuff there prior to registration so that we can put the bags together. So they would have to ship it. So for example, Professor Lindbergh, I think, shipped already from the University of North Carolina the package. I don't know if you guys got it in Calgary. Karen, did you ship it?
Not yet, probably. But let me give you a few other ideas and examples. So one, obviously, it can be something as simple as this. So it's a highlighter, and it can be used during the conference, and my university promotes it, the logo. Or a memory stick with the Bryan School of Business logo on it. I have that. Or a cup. So this is more like a gift. We don't really need it for the conference, but, probably not a good one. Or a pen like this. But what conferences do, for example, here I have the lanyard from the Academy of Management conference. And as you can see, we have here Academy of Management, but we also have Strategic Human Resource Management Association. And to put this on the lanyard, they had to pay a lot of money. And so that's how the sponsorship comes from. So maybe we can ask some of the universities or give them an opportunity to sponsor, like for $10,000, we can put your logo on the conference, the what do you call them, lanyards, right? Or for another $5,000, we can put your, something in the bag. And so again, it could be a possibility to raise funds, to get some free stuff, to promote the schools, to inform the students about graduate programs at different schools. So we may be kind of, if we mix those things together, we may be sort of killing 5 birds with one stone in a sense.
So Jacqueline, that's something that you'll probably have to recruit more people for the marketing part of it. So for example, remember the bag that I showed you guys last webinar? Okay, so I got UPS to pay for that, a few $1,000s. The lanyards, I got my school to pay for that. That was like $500.
2 weeks ago, I had a conference. So the university was the host, but this company here paid for these wonderful, things that we got. So we got their logo on the folder. And so it was a nice thing that we used during the conference. Again, maybe we can get something like this. So it's something I can use after the conference. It's a nice notebook. And I think it even came with some sort of a sponsorship in addition to the actual item. So I think if we gave the option to the schools, to consider that, we probably will be able to raise some funds, and at the very least would get some nice goodies for the bag for free.
Yeah. So a good idea, I think, Jacqueline, is maybe your team can put together like an announcement letter or a publicity letter, and requesting for donations in exchange for their logos getting put on our products for branding purposes, right? Again, the mandatory things that we need to have, the bag and the lanyard. Everything else is optional.
And at the moment, we also have one of our members, Carlo. He's working on maybe a potential design for the bag and lanyard. So the thought process we're starting to think about, of course, the type of bag itself would depend on where we would get it from, but just starting to get the juices flowing to see how we want to structure that. So that is also something that we are working on. I guess my final question in regards to the swag bag, it's a bit down the line, but where would we be distributing it? Because that is also something to keep in mind. Is it going to be something that they're going to get when they come to the University of Calgary residence? Or?
Okay, so let me answer you 2 questions, okay? The first one is the logo. The logo is being designed by Yevgeny, right, Yev? Yeah. And then, so that's got to go through the University of Calgary Haskayne School of Business for approval. So you don't need to really design anything in terms of the logo. What you do need to design is, if we get a bag and if we get all people sponsoring us, then of course, the Haskaynes would go in the middle. UNCG would probably be one of the big logos that are going on there. And then pending how much people contribute is where the rest of their logos go. So you don't have to design the logo. You do have to design the placement of the logos pending how many people you get to contribute to your merchandise. Okay? The second question.
Give me one more second. So one more idea, if I may, on that. We do this at the Academy of International Business in Copenhagen. So awards. So there is this special interest group teaching IB. And so we are contributing $1,000 to the budget of AIB. $500 of that money will be used as for the best paper on teaching international business. Another $500 goes to the conference. And so they like this because it will be one extra plaque distributed at the award ceremony. We like it because it will be coming from our special interest group, so we promote our brand. And the AIB also likes it because they get half of the budget, basically. They just get the money. I wonder if we can, again, ask either companies or universities to sponsor special awards, like, for example, for the most creative presentation, or maybe for the, hidden hero student or something. It can come maybe with some cash or maybe just a plaque, but also with some sort of a sponsorship budget that we can use for the event, and maybe part of that goes to the recipient.
So,
again, if we gave them that idea, I'm sure there will be many schools willing to contribute.
I have an
I will not be
idea.
surprised if my school gave like a few $1,000s towards like a UNCG award for something.
Okay. So, Boss, we have an idea. Jacqueline, you're going to write a letter, and you're going to say the X-Culture Global Business Week Calgary announces conference so-and-so, right? We would like to invite you to participate, to sponsor our program for the following products, right? For this amount, you get this. For this amount, you get this. For this amount, you get this. You make that a beautiful PR piece of paper. You send it to Dr. Taras, and Dr. Taras will send it to all the universities that participate in X-Culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then Professor Lindberg, she's on, for all of the faculty who are actually attending, Professor Lindberg will then follow up and send it to those people. So Jacqueline, those are your two, well, actually you got 4 contact people. Professor Lindberg, Dr. Taras, Dr. Tavoletti, and Tim Muth. All 4 of those people need to have your contact information because they're going to help you get the stuff that you need.
Yep, I don't think I have everybody's email addresses for that. So after this call, would you mind sending me the contact emails for everybody?
Absolutely. The last answer that I have for you, and I just want to do a time check. Okay, so how we're going to distribute the swag bag. Okay, so everybody arrives about 1 o'clock. Let's say 12 o'clock. I'm going to try to push it to 12 o'clock. We're going to register, right? Everybody goes to the registration table, and we're going to have 2 to 3 lines. I think, Maddalena, we had 2 to 3 lines in Italy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we'll divide it by alphabetical order, right? And then based on how many student registrants we have in that alphabetical order, we will already have bags queued up behind them. So it's a very smooth process. You're registering, you are here, check, you are in this room, check, here's your registration bag, check. Now, how we assemble that? Once you collect all of this stuff, as everybody is sending it to you, right? Put it in a room. And then we are going to be all 22 of us in the same room together. And it's going to be, I get a bag, somebody puts one thing in it, another person puts it. By us doing it that way, Jacqueline, it's going to take us an hour. Okay. Mm-hmm. By you doing it by yourself, it's going to take you days and it's going to drive you crazy. So don't do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just store it in some secure location where we can all be there together, and we will create an assembly line, more hands, make less work, and we're going to put that together, and then we're also going to organize the registration tables, and we'll divide the number of bags based on how many people are under that letter of the alphabet. Okay?
Yep.
So don't
Sounds
stress.
good. Yep, no worries. Yep, and since I'm currently abroad, I'll find out when I come back to Calgary where everything is being stored, and then I'll take inventory.
Perfect. Programs. Remember, Jacqueline, you need 200 of everything.
Yep.
Okay. Programs. Catherine. You're, yeah, okay.
All right. Okay. So currently with the program, I have got most of the ambassador information. I'm missing from 2 people, but I've already messaged them about it and they're going to get them to me as soon as possible. I have talked with Duncan about the printing infrastructure, and he referred me back to Layton. So I'm waiting on a template from Layton to be used for that. I did want to ask about whether or not the challenge companies have been set in stone yet.
Professor Tavoletti? Unmute.
No, not yet, unfortunately, because we have the Calgary Airport one that is basically ready, but we have to discuss it with the management of the Calgary Airport, and we are actually waiting for the other 2 organizations giving us an appointment online. So we have been pressing the local host, but the local host didn't manage to fix an appointment yet. So we hope it is going to be on Monday. And so if it's on Monday, we need maybe 2-3 days in order to draft the challenge. Then we have to send it to them, the company. So they will be ready for the end of May, just in time for the release, the first week of June.
Ay, Dios mío. Okay, so here's what we need, Ernesto.
Yes.
We are going to need the information for Catherine. We need a good 1-page PR page. It's got to be print ready. And then we also need pictures and bios of the participating directors who's going to sit during those presentations. Okay.
Yes, in order to have that, we need to pressure the local host. You don't have to pressure me, because the local host didn't provide us with the emails and contacts of the people at the Lake Louise and the municipality. So I can write to the airport, and I'm going to meet the airport on Monday, but I do not have the contacts of the Lake Louise and municipality of Calgary. So this is local host responsibility.
Okay, so when that does actually happen between you, Layton, and Tim, one of you guys need to remember that the publication material needs to be given to us, because we need to send that to the program designer. Okay, so, and that takes a little bit more time than, we can't do it like immediately, for example. It needs to go to a designer for a more professional look. Yeah?
Yes, you know, we have been asking to the local host more than 1 month ago to fix those appointments, but we are waiting for that.
Yes. So Catherine, the other thing I guess that you need to follow up on with Layton or Duncan is, do we need a designer? And if we need a designer, how much is that designer going to cost us? Okay. So that's something that we need to know way ahead of time. Also,
Liliani, sorry if I interrupt you. I have to leave because I have actually a meeting here, and I cannot stay any longer. But we will be in touch.
Thank you. Bye, Ernesto.
Bye bye to all of you. Bye bye.
So, and Catherine, the other thing that I need you to kind of monitor, right, is like all the pieces that. So, for example, if Jacqueline gets a sponsor and they buy like a half a page, you need to monitor that, because that's going to take up space in your program. So Jacqueline, every time there's a sponsor and they buy like a quarter page, a half a page, or a full page, this is something that you and I can work on the side, okay? That Catherine needs to be told, and then Catherine also needs to get that piece that's going to go in that program. Okay, then Catherine will relay all of that information to the designer. Okay, remember too that when you guys get publications from all of your sponsors, it's got to be high resolution print quality. It can't be something that was taken with your cell phone. High resolution print quality. Okay, Catherine, you got anything else for me?
No, you pretty much covered. I was going to talk about sponsors as well, and that was all covered. So
Yeah.
right now I've got a checklist of things as well as kind of like how much each item is going to take up. Roughly right now, without sponsors, we're at, I think, 12 pages.
Yeah, you're going to go up to about 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to go up to about 20.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you have enough people on your team to help you?
I have Zakil and oh boy.
Yeah, you probably need to put together a team, like maybe Jacqueline and Catherine, you guys probably need to share a marketing team together. You know, get some marketing people who are really good at selling, put that together, and really good at selling and PR, you know, put that team together so that you guys can co-collaborate and co-create this program and also support your merchandising requirements.
All right.
Yeah? Okay. So where are we with shirts?
So I'm helping Jessica with the shirts, and so I was doing a little bit of research last night, and I have a couple of questions for you. So most of the stuff that I found, it's been polos and t-shirts that I'm looking into now, and originally the idea was like Western shirts, but we scratched that because it's way too expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of debating between going between polos and t-shirts because that makes a difference.
Yeah. So our dress requirement for our attendees is going to be business casual.
Right.
So I don't want you guys in t-shirts. So let's nix the t-shirts.
Okay.
We did have polos in Miami, and we also had polos in Macerata.
Okay.
So ideally, polos would, I think, be sufficient, and then it would be comfortable too, because remember, you guys are going to be running, working. It's not, you know, like the attendees are going to be in business casual. They're going to be relaxed and sitting down. All of you guys are going to be running around, coaching, teaching. You guys are going to get to see what it's like to be a professor, okay, running programs. But you want to be comfortable, but at the same time, you want to look professional enough.
Right, that makes sense. And then in terms of numbers, how many shirts am I getting?
So it's 2 shirts per ambassador, so you need 40. And you might as well start collecting everybody's sizes. So for those of you guys who are here and for those of you guys who are in the recording, make sure that Mujan, am I saying your name right?
It's Mujan, yeah.
Mujan. Make sure that Mujan has your name and your t-shirt sizes and whether or not you want a girl or a boy size, okay? Because they're different.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you, but Mujan, you could create a Google Doc so so we can, right there our sizes.
Yeah, I can do that.
And maybe we can discuss very briefly here about the color of the polos because it needs to be a color, a comfortable color. I mean, if we sweat, it would be better if. Yes, we already spoke about this, but I just wanted to share it with the other ambassadors. And
yeah.
Madalena, it's Canada. It's not Italy. It's Canada.
It's going to be hot. So I've looked at a couple of colors. Most of the colors that I've looked at are like more neutral. So black and blue, like darker blue. And I was wondering if like you guys had any preferences, first of all. And the other thing is, I know the logo, like I pulled the logo off of Google just to see. The logo, the writing is in black. So if I can get that like writing in like a Photoshop format, either that or if I can get it so that the writing is in white, that would be great.
Frankie, we're talking about a black bull, and then I think the University of Calgary logo is red and black, right? So if you guys go with a black shirt, can we get the bull in? I don't know if this is going to make sense. I think we have to clear this with Calgary, but can we get a red bull and white writing? Is that possible? I mean, boss, how do you think that's going to look?
I don't know, it's always better to look at the screen, so it's hard to imagine what it looks like, but once you have it on the screen, or on the, I think it will be pretty obvious.
Okay,
what I can do is I can go to Haskayne one day after work and see if I can get a hold of someone from the marketing team, or I can just reach out to them by email to see if I can actually get a different types of the logos.
Mujan, we have an X Culture Global Business Week Calgary logo that we're designing. And this is specific for this particular conference. But we have to change it to accommodate the t-shirt or the polo shirt color that you guys want. So see if you can use the red and white so that when it prints on the black, it's going to be visible.
Okay, so I need the UFC logo as well as the Haskayne bull, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, I'm not sure if any of the sites that I've looked at actually print on the sleeves. And I know you guys had that, All right, can you hear me?
Okay, better. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just having a little bit of trouble with printing stuff on the sleeves. So most of the stuff that I've looked at has been front and back for printing.
Like right here?
Yeah, that is okay, but the back is not, or the sleeves is not.
Okay, so just do the front. I mean, in Italy, we did the sleeves because it was easy for us, right?
Okay.
So just don't go with the lowest hanging fruit, because when you start making it complicated, the money starts going up and it doesn't really add any value. So just go right here, okay? I think right now our challenge is making those logos and contrast colors to accommodate your choice colors. Which I'm assuming everybody wants black. Yeah, I don't think blue is the right color because the School of Business is red and black, right? Yeah, blue is probably off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Karen
this is probably the colors we should be operating with: black, blue, and black, red, and yellow, and then white text.
Okay. Karen?
Just to mention, I know that working with UNCG and some other organizations with logos, they really don't like UNCG is gold and blue. They would not want to see anybody say, hey, can we change that to orange and blue? So I think that you have to be pretty much count on the fact that the bull has to be black, operate with those assumptions, and then just get in touch with their marketing right away to get things approved.
I know. I just know that UFC has different color logos for different backdrops. So, because I've had that in the past. So if they have that, why not ask for it?
Yes,
definitely ask. So, and Mujan, are you guys opposed to going with white or yellow? Madalena's gonna say yes.
I don't really. I don't care. So,
Madalena, what do you think? White or yellow? We did white in Miami, but.
No, it's the same for me actually, so yes.
Okay, so you guys talk about this. I think the critical thing, Mujan, for you is how are you going to be able to get that logo on your shirts, okay?
Yeah.
Price point. Tell me about price point, and then we got to move to Dr. Taras.
I've just been sticking to, so any sites that I've seen, it's been more than 15 or 20 Canadian, so it would be 15 USD. I've kind of scrapped. I'm looking at more local shirt designs, so that kind of helps. One of the first sites that I looked at, it was $13.50-ish
Canadian
for 20 shirts. So when you buy more, they usually go down in price. So that's what I've noticed. It just depends because I don't know how set those prices are because I didn't have the logo to put everywhere.
Right. It's going to add to the logo, right? So, and we'll work with that.
Yeah.
I had told Madalena to, hover around 15 American because we do want better quality shirts, and you guys got to have 2 each, okay? And you have to wear that thing for 6 days. So you wear one day, you wash one. You wear the other one day, you wash the other one, okay? So the only day that you will not be wearing it, or the only time that you will not be wearing it, is at the gala. Everybody should wear formals at the gala.
Yeah.
Yeah. One important thing to pay attention to would be the material. I mean, it's not supposed to be hot, but I remember at one of the conferences we organized in the past, the material was kind of some synthetic stuff. And so when it's hot, it's, not very pleasant to your body. So kind of better to pay a little extra and get nice high quality cotton than to save and then wear plastic, essentially.
Okay, so Voss, it's your turn for the training.
So there are 2 things that we would like to do right this time, something that we always wanted to do, but somehow never did it well enough. And that is sort of, let's call it the coaching side of the event. So we had some events when we had dedicated coaches and ambassadors. We had some events where it was only ambassadors who were also supposed to do coaching. But there was so much work on the kind of housekeeping side that, in my opinion, not enough was done on the coaching side. And so we would like to do 2 things this time. One we tried in the past, and we'll try to do it even better. And one we didn't try to do in the past, and we'll try to do it this time. So one, the pre-project, let's call it team building. So we will be ready to form teams literally today. The plan was to, if we still have the energy, Yev, Madalena, and I will meet right after this meeting and start forming teams. But it will be a few more weeks before they will get the challenges and start working as teams. And so we thought, meanwhile, what we'll do is you ambassadors / coaches will help us organize a series of icebreakers, team building events, get to know each other and things like that. I have several books here that are very useful. I've read them, obviously used them a lot in my own work, but just to give you as an illustration, for example, here we have the big book of team building for global virtual teams. And so that's, for example, something we can use with our teams while they're still virtual before they meet one another. Here is another one, the big book of coaching, so specifically for just, regular teams. A big book of activities for motivating teams. 122 ways to build teams, and I have like a whole stacks of book like that, like this one on the shelf. And so the idea is that we can have some simple activities starting essentially on Monday, once the teams are formed, that would prompt the teams to get to know each other within the teams and possibly as a cohort as a whole. And the goal here is, on the one hand, to allow people or to help people to get more comfortable with one another, but also to set the right, attitude or mood for the event, so that people are a little bit more inspired, a little bit more motivated, a little bit more comfortable with one another. The games can be very simple. Like, for example, the teams can be asked, for example, to write a team resume. Just like you would write one for one person, here you write one for the whole team. And so it's a simple activity that, for example, sort of forces people to find out more about each other, education, total for the team, languages the team speaks together, and things like that. Again, I'm not sure if we need this particular game, but, those are simple ways to allow people to kind of get to know each other closer, and as a result they will be probably working better together, enjoying time together more, producing better quality reports and things like that. And so the way we would like to go about that is I will send you these books, or at least some of them, the stuff that we need, so that on the one hand you can use it for yourself, review the activities, see which ones would be useful. We will recommend you some of the activities that you can use. We will maybe even do some training for you before you do training for the students, but then you, the ambassadors, will sort of manage that process. And again, it can be, I'll leave it up to Madalena, and you have to decide if it's going to be a small group of ambassadors specifically assigned to run specific activities, or it will be everyone is involved in everything. It's probably going to be better if we divide the responsibilities and like a couple.
So we discussed this already, boss. So what we're going to do, Madalena divided the ambassadors into 3 teams, yeah? And so, for example, team 1 will be responsible, and given that you and Madalena and Yevgeny are going to divide our 154 students into about 30 teams, right? So team one, ambassador team one, will be responsible for student teams 1 through 10, and then team 2 will be responsible from 11 through 20, and then team 3 would be 21 to 30, right?
Yeah.
Each team is going to have about 5 students each, so each ambassador's team will be responsible for about 50 students, okay? And those 50 students, we want you to monitor from the start to finish. So you're onboarding them with preliminary getting to know you. And then once the challenges start, you're working with them collaboratively, even virtually. And then when they get on ground, you're actually going to know where they are all the time. And you're going to take attendance, making sure that they participate in all mandatory activities. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's also
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's important for you too to get to know them, because this is going to be your students throughout the entire experience.
Very good point, Leilani. So it may not be only for the students to get to know each other, but also for the students to get to know the ambassadors to get to know the students. So yes, and yes, some activities will be probably best managed when ambassadors have their own teams to manage. Some may be kind of all conference events or activities. So we'll once we decide what we do, we can then decide how we will manage them. So, but that's before the conference. And again, we haven't done it in the past. Even if it's only a couple of activities that we do, I think it will be a big step forward for us. And as I said, hopefully we will see some good results. We can even then compare the attitudes, because we do a lot of surveys of the students to see, what they say about this, if it improves satisfaction, performance, maybe even write a paper at some point.
Yeah, it's a part of their acculturation process. Duncan has a quick question.
Yes.
I think this may have already been determined. I think that it was, but I just wanted to confirm it again here. In terms of confirming what that particular curriculum looks like, in terms of what sort of activities we'd be doing with the virtual teams and whatnot, am I correct in understanding that the internationals are taking the lead on that, since the Calgary students are already quite occupied with the logistics?
Right. Okay, so the international students are taking the lead in developing the training, but the Calgarian ambassadors are expected to participate, because these are basically your teams, okay? So, the way I envision it, you've got 6 ambassadors in one team, responsible for 50 students, okay? Developing the onboarding is going to be the responsibility of international ambassadors. But the Calgarian students are advised to be there, because once they're on ground, you got to know your kids, okay? The other thing too is, I can kind of imagine, so for example, once you guys get on ground and you do that scavenger hunt, why not have teams competing? Let's say, ambassador team 1A, ambassador team 1B. So we'll have 6 divided scavenger hunts going on, and you guys can compete for something.
Yeah, competition is always good, yeah.
Yeah, Madalena, I think we did that. We gave everybody an ice cream party, right?
Yes. We had prizes. For example, the first prize was a dinner, the second prize, an ice cream, and the third prize was coffee, Italian coffee, and sweet.
Yeah, so, we can figure out what kind of incentives we give them. It'll be fun.
Yeah, so that's the component where we sort of build teams, and that's primarily for before the event or at the event, more kind of non-business related type of activities, scavenger hunts and stuff like that. The second component, again, that we always tried to do, but as I said, sometimes just didn't have the time for that. Sometimes I think the preparation was not as good. And that's the kind of the coaching on the business side of it. So at the very least, we are talking here about some sort of, rehearsals with the coaches or ambassadors, and we've done that in the past. Probably can do even better, but also training materials for that. Like, for example, I've collected quite a few now reports and the one-page handouts that the teams distribute before they do the presentation. And so again, some of those are excellent and can be used as examples. Some of those are really bad and can be used as examples of what not to do. And so I'm thinking maybe we can even develop some sort of a training module on how to prepare a one-page handout. Or same thing with presentations. We have some of them recorded. You've seen some of them, those who attended the conference in the past. Again, some teams do a wonderful job, some teams do a very bad job. And again, maybe we can prepare some sort of like a training module way in advance so that the teams can use it as they are preparing for the presentations. And then obviously on the side, the coaches can meet with the students, maybe look at the rehearsal presentation, provide feedback, try to develop it. Same thing with the challenges. Again, in the past, we would give the challenges and wait for the students to sort of develop them. But again, maybe we can do a little bit more and maybe even introduce some sort of milestones where teams are expected to submit some sort of drafts or initial ideas at least. And then maybe the coaches will take a look and provide some feedback. Not necessarily because coaches or ambassadors are more knowledgeable in that, but just because, an external set of eyes that looks at it as, maybe some of those just don't make any sense. Again, it can be at the very least some sort of, feedback, but maybe some additional training modules or maybe some additional webinars specifically for feedback or, for review of the most common mistakes or things that you see in the drafts. So I think we can do much more here. And if we don't do it, it's not a huge deal. We haven't done much of that in the past and it worked just fine. But if we do it, it will be better for the students, but also for you guys, ambassadors. Yeah.
So let's keep in mind something, right? So how we selected you guys, 10 of you guys are from Canada, 10 of you guys are from the coaching program. The students from the coaching program actually have the training to review presentations, to review materials that prepare them for presentations. So those of you guys international who are going to be leads on that need to kind of put together a process where you're checking your 10 teams. Because remember, each ambassador group, 3 groups, each ambassador group will have 6 students in there, right? 3 of which is working on ground, but the other 3, the international ones, are going to be working on the virtual teams. And you 3 international ambassadors in that team have the responsibility of 10 specific groups. So while you're working virtually, you're checking their progress. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And yes, you're right, Leilani, that we have some people on the ambassador teams who have gone through the coaching program and they were developing those training modules. They were providing feedback. Yes. So here it will be just another kind of facet of that. So similar work, but now for the face-to-face teams. Plus, again, because of that, some of the tasks and activities will be different. So it would be training for some different types of activities. But I think we can do it better. And as I said, it will be something that will look good on your resume as well when you will be manager. So maybe we'll have some consulting experience. So the challenge again will be, will we then have locals doing mainly housekeeping and management, whereas the internationals doing more coaching? Will it be some other form of mix? Will it be, but I guess we can, see how the workload looks like, and then on the side,
we're going to have to work on that on the fly while we're on the ground.
Yeah, Jackie? But that's the goal. We will be sending you additional instructions about that in the coming days. So just expect it. And if you have any suggestions or ideas, maybe you have some experience of that kind, we are very interested in your thoughts because it's the first time we're trying to do some of these things. So ideas are welcome.
Jacqueline?
Yeah, no, I just to add on to that, I did the competition in DC, and I completely agree with setting milestones beforehand because I loved the experience, but our team really did a lot of pre-work before Washington, and it seemed every other team was doing all their stuff already on the ground when they got there. So it was a little bit not really frustrating, but it was interesting just to see that difference, and if everybody may have been on the same page. So I like the idea of setting these milestones beforehand. And I'm one of the people who did the coaching program instead of an ambassadorial role beforehand. So even though I'm part of the Calgary team on the ground, if the team who's the international group is heading up and coming up with design modules or whatever, I am also available if they want maybe an on-Calgary person to help with that. I'm also available to help out.
Perfect. Because again, the idea is that the coaches who went through the coaching program actually monitor the progress of their specific teams that they're managing, right? And if you guys can benchmark them, like you've got 5 faculty leads who's running the whole show. We don't have time to do that. But for you guys who are familiar with it, who understand how it works, You guys should be creating these milestones, set the expectations, monitor your students, and make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I also want you to participate in checking to see if there are free riders and start to motivate them if you start to detect free riders. And you are all, ex-culture graduates. You know what that feels like when you have a free rider on your team. Vas, no audio.
And again, we didn't say that, in strong terms when we had the orientation for the students, but I do believe that we will probably have, or I predict that we will probably have at least a few students who will not be very active in the team. And I do believe that if that happens, maybe we should exclude like one or maybe even two, just to set an example. And the reason I think that may happen is not because though we've selected the best of the best of the best, but just because students were best in the project itself, here they may see this more as a vacation. And I wouldn't mind that they have some good time. The problem is that we are a team-based project. And again, it's not because I believe in team spirit or anything like that. I just know that we have 150 people that we need to make happy. And if one of them comes to this event as an opportunity to just have a vacation in Canada, then we will have 5 other people who will not be happy. And so for us, it's not that I worry that the other one, blew the opportunity to learn something new. I just know that the other 5 will complain to me. And so it would be better to exclude the one who came on a vacation so that the other 5 are happy than not to do it that way. So therefore, I think we should have some sort of a system in place to monitor performance and engagement. And if there are red flags about, lack of engagement, maybe we can still replace someone.
Yeah. Well, the peer evaluation process that we use with virtual would probably work.
Well, in the past, for the symposium, we didn't really have those weekly kind of pre-conference surveys and milestones and things like that. And so that's why kind of everything looked fine, but at the same time, it turns out later on that some team members were not as active. So maybe.
And now here's the other thing, boss, is if there are free riders in the team, I'm going to actually ask the ambassadors, why are there free riders in your team? Where did it happen that they stopped performing, and why didn't you catch that? Yeah. So, I'm going to hold you responsible in the same way that I'm held responsible for my students, right? That if there's somebody who's failing, why are they failing? And could you have done something to prevent them from failing, right? So,
and based on our research on the topic, by the way, most of the free riders, at least in virtual teams during the normal competition, we've studied it extensively. It happens not because someone is lazy or someone is irresponsible. It usually happens because of lack of instruction initially. Not instruction, kind of lack of engagement in the first few days, and then they just don't know what to do. So, like, for example, they missed the first meeting, or maybe they were lazy the first meeting, but then they're willing to do, but the team kind of moved on and they're not quite sure how to. So basically, that lack of engagement, either because they didn't know how or were not available, and then it snowballs. And so I think ambassadors here can monitor that situation. And if they see that somebody's falling out, they provide help. And usually that is enough to keep them engaged. So, the goal is to make sure that nobody's left behind, because if they are, it's not because they're bad people. It's just because they were left behind and never caught up.
Yeah. Ultimately, Madalena is your lead faculty, right? But ultimately, it's your responsibility as, lead ambassador. Madalena, I just promoted you. With the international students, it is your responsibility as their international lead ambassadors for the project to make sure that that benchmark is set, the expectations are set, you're monitoring them. Basically, there are probably 3 international students or international ambassadors per team that's responsible for 10 groups of students. That shouldn't be that hard. Divide the work between the 3 guys to monitor 3 teams. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we are 11 minutes over our meeting. Anybody have any questions? I see 4 things here. Vas, did you check?
Yeah, it seems like it's all. The only thing that I would like to say is that I'm very impressed. One of the big challenges with teams in general, but especially global virtual teams, is that in most cases you don't see what others do, and you're often under the impression that nobody does anything. And I know this. I've written literally papers about that, but I honestly didn't know how much you were doing. I attended the past meeting, but kind of had to do something else. My daughter, I think, had the birthday at that time or something like that. But this time I actually was listening carefully, and I'm extremely impressed. I mean, like all those T-shirts and all that stuff, with the venue that Duncan, like I realized how much work went into it, and like literally I didn't know. And so, right, I didn't know, and so very impressive. Thank you so much. I mean, we are definitely in good hands. So yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. Everybody's good, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Madalena and Yevgeny, so do you want to stay here? Do you want to reconnect in a different?
It's okay for me to stay here.
Let me send you a new link just because I want to stop this one so that we have the recording.